Hello and welcome to this choco chip and veg muffin recipe episode. I'll be showing you how to make this batch of 12 delicious muffins using 14 ingredients. For this recipe, I'll be turning once again to the Run Fast, Eat Slow cookbook. I'll link this recipe book below so you can go check it out, maybe buy yourself a copy. This recipe is titled Superhero Muffins. It's already gluten-free and vegetarian. To make this vegan, all I'm doing is using this egg replacer powder courtesy of Bob's Red Mill brand. Let's run through each of the 14 ingredients super quickly so you can follow along yourself. First up, we've got 2 cups of almond flour. This is the Good & Gather brand from Target. 1 cup of old-fashioned rolled oats. 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. I happen to have this Vietnamese cinnamon, but I think you can use any kind you'd like. This is the rising agent for this recipe. It'll help to lift up the muffin batter when it's cooking in the oven. There's 1 teaspoon of baking soda. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm going with Himalayan pink salt, but you can use sea salt as well. This is about 1 tablespoon of chopped pecans. I decided to just go with pecans. I prefer them to walnuts, which is what the recipe calls for. 1/2 cup of dark chocolate chunks. I simply went to the grocery store, found a bar of dark baking chocolate and chopped it up myself, but if you want to go easier on yourself, you can just go and buy a bag of chocolate chips. The recipe uses 3 eggs, so I'll be using this egg replacer powder to make the equivalent of those 3 eggs. I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but I'm also substituting this plant-based butter for regular butter, which is listed in the recipe. I'll be using 6 tablespoons of this plant butter. 1/2 cup of maple syrup to give these muffins some sweetness along with the chocolate chips. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. This is actually a bonus ingredient that I'm adding to this recipe. I saw that there was baking soda in here, and because the recipe uses almond flour, which is pretty heavy and doesn't rise as easily as super light flour, I decided to add in a bit of this Bragg's brand apple cider vinegar to help the muffins rise a bit. So I'm planning to use about a teaspoon of this. Finally, the last 2 ingredients going in here are these lovely vegetables I have here. There's about 1 cup of zucchini going in here. I picked out 2 zucchinis just in case one wasn't quite 1 cup. The same goes for these carrots. I just grabbed a handful at my grocery store and tried to estimate by eye how much 1 cup would be. I'm sure many of you watching have made muffin recipes before. They're pretty straightforward. For this one, you mix together the dry ingredients in a large mixing bowl. Separately, you mix together the wet ingredients and then you combine them together and you put them, well, I should say you put the batter into these 12 cups. I've already greased these muffin liners, so this is all ready to go. I also have my oven all preheated up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, so all I have to do really is get to mixing together the dry and wet ingredients, and then everything will come together. Before I get going though, I would say something that's a bit unique about this recipe is the veg, and you actually have to grate it down. I'm gonna be using my food processor, and what I'll do is simply chop down the zucchini and the carrots and pulse them down and add those into the wet ingredients mixture. That's the gist of this recipe, so without further ado, let's get going on making the batter and getting these muffins into the oven. right, it's time to see how good these muffins taste. I've let this tray sit for about 10 minutes. It's cool to the touch, so I'm just gonna go ahead and grab one of these guys. I prefer to let muffins sit for a few hours to get set and more cool than they are now, but for the sake of this episode, I am gonna dig right in. It's reminding me a bit of carrot cake with the carrot you can see in there. All right. Very, very tasty. I do love traditional muffins that are made with highly processed grain flour, like poppy seed muffins, chocolate chip muffins, blueberry muffins, but I do love all of the healthy stuff that has gone into these muffins. The texture of the oats is delicious. The chocolate chunks are delicious. I can taste a bit of the pecans too. This muffin recipe was in the breakfast section of the recipe cookbook, and I'm gonna have delicious muffins for several days now to enjoy for breakfast. That's it for this Choco Veg muffin recipe. Let me know what you think of the recipe in the comments below if you decide to try it out, or feel free to drop a suggestion below if there's a recipe you'd like me to try out in a future recipe episode. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, eat well, and I will see you in the next episode on this channel. Bye!